Without it? Okay. But now, through the magic of the world, but you know, if there's anyone watching online, they couldn't have heard me, so they would have just seen a mouth going like this. Anyway, I'm really pleased to have this collaboration. This is a music form that is near and dear to my heart. I was really delighted that my partner in music, Mr. Ha, Dr. Ha, came to see me with this project idea, and we have worked together in the past, and we're really thrilled. We at the Asia Society are really committed to the understanding of Asia, and of course I really feel that live performance, that the live expressive moment is one of the most powerful ones, because there is something that's about being in the room with artists and hearing them in person that is like nothing else. There's no substitute for it. On either side, either the audience side or for the performers. And tonight I think will be a particularly kind of intimate concert in this hall, and with these acoustics it really allows a particular relationship to the art, which I think is really in keeping with Korean music and with the aesthetic in which this particular art form developed. And then at the end you'll hear an ensemble piece that gives you a whole different part of the spirit of Korea. So now I'd like to introduce Dr. Ha, who will give us some insight into the world of pansori. Please, a big hand for Dr. Ha.
Good evening. Thank you, Rachel, and you know, I'm very grateful that Rachel gave me a wonderful opportunity to present, be able to present some of the greatest musicians in Korea. I'm not joking; they are the best of the best. So I'm very excited, and then also the musicians are very excited. So I'm sure that we'll have a wonderful concert today. I'm not going to talk about all the scholarly side of pansori, but pansori I describe with the 3 different words in English: pathos, subtlety, and passion. That's the 3 words that can represent the Korean pansori. Sometimes people, especially outside of Korea, they they assume that it's the music of neighboring country like China or Japan. It's they just assume that it's similar, but we're absolutely different, very, very different. Even the language is different, right? Korean language is related to Mongolian, and then Siberian, with the historical roots. And then that language also introduced to Korea the Mongolian Siberian shamanism. So the shamanism became Korea's indigenous religion, And then shamanism, shaman ritual is a performance in a modern sense. In a village, they, all days they don't have any kind of entertainment, right? No TV, no radio, nothing. So if there is a shaman ritual, then everybody gather to that, that little space in the village, and then they enjoy the performance. The shaman functions in many different ways, like singers and dancers, and can be comedian or the actors. So it's like has a wonderful range of artistic expression. One of the shamanist culture that grew out is it's a pansori. Pansori is a narrative form, right? And then the mudang, which is the shaman in Korea. They conduct the ritual for like 3 days, almost without stopping. So the shaman or mudang, they have, she or he had to come up with some kind of performance ideas, like narrative or telling the stories to the villages. That's how the pansori began in the roughly in the 17th century. They developed out of the shaman ritual in Korea. I'm getting aged, so I cannot really read. So a lot of scholars, they said, the Korean scholars as well as the Western ethnomusicologists, shaman culture is the seed of Korean folk music traditions, which is, folk music is it's different, basically different from the court music tradition, which is the written tradition. But folk music is all orally transmitted tradition, encompasses a wide array of vocal and instrumental genres, one of which we introduced yesterday, which is the sanjo. That's the solo instrumental genre that also related to shaman culture. Basically, it's improvisation and spontaneity that reflects the performance understanding of traditional performance practice. So it's like a lifelong journey that it's like a talking, from your birth. The musicians, they understand just even playing just one single pitch, and the musician understand they can communicate with other instruments. It's amazing that I'm not a professional instrumentalist or musician, but I always watch them how they communicate. Just one single note can bring a whole different world. So among the Korean folk traditions, there's folk songs, minyo, farmers' percussion band, which is known as pungmul, and the shamanistic instrumental ensemble accompanying to shaman dance is called shinawi, which they're going to introduce today briefly, to pansori and sanjo. Pansori is it's an oral tradition, and then pansori was very gender-oriented music. Up until 19th century, only male singers can perform pansori, which is called kwangdae. And then kwangdae is always accompanied with the drum. And then in pansori, very much like a Western opera, right? There is a written text and vocal arias, beautiful arias, and the recitative sections, and physical gestures, which is very important. You'll see, and then he or she, the pansori singer, will sometimes dance with a beautiful fan. Okay. And interacting with the rhythmic accompaniment of the kosu. And then pansori singers, depending on the meaning of the text, pansori singer can choose different rhythmic patterns, like fast or slow. And usually there are 6 different rhythmic patterns used in pansori. And of course, there's a melodic mode. And then 2 basic melodic mode. Primary mode is this. First one is a sad mode. And then second one will be happy and peaceful. That's, pretty much in anonymous to with a Western major and minor mode. I think pansori singers are amazing because in Western opera, you have a whole orchestra, accompanying, and there's just one single vocal arias, right? But pansori singer, they have to be, orchestra, and they have to be everything, depicting every single dramatic life situation. So the one single voice has many, many, many different colors. For example, one singer can become a grandmother, or a little child, or evil person, or devil, or something, female, male. Not only the characters, but also the ambience of the setting of the pansori story. So also, it's very important in pansori singing is that Korean performance, we don't separate the performers and the audience, so audience can freely join and then yell at them by encouraging some words. So I'll introduce first one, 어시구. Everybody knows, probably here. 어시구. Usually you say toward the end of the rhythmic pattern. For example, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4. It's like anywhere you can choose. You can use this is I love this. Just say and just the expression of you really appreciate by giving this these words. There are 5 pansori epics which have been survived. We call O Patang. It's 5 different canons. The first one is the most popular one, the Song of Chunhyang, which is a love story. It's like a Romeo and Juliet, or Tony and Maria, Tristan and Isolde, or every culture has kind of tragic story. But this is not a tragic story. It's a happy ending. The Song of Hungbo, which is the story about the 2 brothers, and the Song of Shimcheong, which will, I think, Rachel, you're going to introduce the synopsis of it. It's about the daughter and the blind father. And the Song of the Red Cliff, which is the war story. It's about loyalty and the patriotic love for your country. And then Song of the Underwater Palace, which is about the king and the people, the relationship. And then, there were other pansori stories, but it's all disappeared because it doesn't really reflect the Korean Confucianism. So there are 5 different important ethics, which is, of course, the love between men and women and brothers, and then love between parents and children, and then king and people, and among friendship. It's very important. So describing these ethics, the 5 stories have been survived. Okay. Are you doing okay? All right. So Rachel is going to give the synopsis of... not now. Oh, okay. All right. So what should I do now?
Actually, since we're going to do that afterwards, why don't if you could talk a little bit about the training, how they learned it?
Well, basically, there is no scores. You have to, it's oral tradition. So the teacher and then a student, and the master and student relationship. It's very, very hard. Every day you have to go to your teacher and then just to mimic the sound of the teacher. Even the gestures and everything, that's how people learn pansori. And eventually that the students become well enough to develop their own styles, and they can change the style of your teacher. But as a student, you just mimic, just like a singing bird, and then that's how I learn. And this was famous movie about pansori learning called 섭변제, and which was released in 1993. And this is a hard life of pansori singer. It's a girl, and who became blind, right, by her father, right? As a father, I mean, it's just a father figure, but it's not. He is not related by blood, but he became a wonderful teacher, and then she. It's Korean notion of Han, that you have to have a kind of what's the Hillary hardship, yes, and it's a collective sadness of Korean people that every singer they have to equipped with this, that kind of Korean notion. So the father is trying to bring the Han on that student, and then by making her blind, which is kind of too hard. But anyway, I have a students, in United States. I used to teach at University of Harvard. I showed that movie, and then some of my students left. They could not stand that, the concept of making daughter blind. But
about the vocal quality? Since we're going to be listening to a music that some of us are not familiar with,
right.
could you talk about how we can listen to some of the vocal qualities in the concert?
Yes. Pansori singers, they have to have really high tessitura, high pitches. That's pushing the limit of the upper register. That's how the pansori singer make a great pansori singer. And then especially the natural by nature, men and women has different pitches, right? Usually women has I think perfect fourth above than men. So it's very hard for men to sing in a women's voice. But the pansori, especially the male pansori singers, they sing in the same key as a women's key. So it's like me. I'm not a professional singer, so it's not even possible to mimic the sound of it. And you will hear Master Im Hyun Bin how he pushed the tessitura up above the normal natural male's voice. Okay.
What does that mean, Omi? Omi? You mentioned about the sound of Omi. Omi? Before this sample, you mentioned Omi.
The sounds that you were using was to show approval.
Oh, yeah.
But before that one.
Oh, before that one, 얼씨구. 얼씨구 is like it doesn't really have a meaning, but it's kind of oppa, ippe. It's like so. Yeah. Well, what is the exact translation of 얼씨구? There we go. Yeah. All right. So I think it's very similar to like a Greek culture, like oppa, like doing that. That's 얼씨구. Any other questions?
Could you explain how it went from, you said originally there were only male pansori singers. Sure. Originally you said that there were only male pansori singers, and then could you describe or explain how it became more all female, and then maybe
it's culture context of the history of Korean culture. The main performing genres, especially pansori genres, is shifted during the Japanese colonial period, and then the kiseng, which is geisha, very similar to Japanese geisha, they becomes the main subject, and they became the pansori female begin to sing in public. Now, because this, certain sexuality and the modern culture from Japan, the female singers became more popular than male singers. So they became the master female singers in the first early 20th century, and then gradually begin to replace the genders, and then to female singers. And then also, there is a patron, very popular, well-known pansori patron in the 19th century. He had a kind of little thingy with the keisha, kiseng, and then he supported, became a patron, and he supported that the first known female singer, his name is Jin Chae-son. So she became very, very popular as the first female pansori singer.
Yes, thank you. How different is the male and female? As in the old times, it was a eunuch that would do the female character because it was so high. When the women started, still, I don't know in Korea, but in Japan, it's men that still do the female role. And now you see in the Western society, the man can be also soprano, but not because of operations. When did it change?
The male singers were original, right? They sang up until the keisha, female singer came to be more popular in the early 20th century. For female singers, it's easier to sing in a male's master voice for them. I realize, I sometimes I listen to the SP recordings, recorded in early 20th century by a male singer, male master singer, and then I cannot even follow, it can mimic the sound of it because it's too high, I'm not going to even dare to try. But if I ask a female student, my students, for them it's a very comfortable range. It's the same pitch range. Does it make sense? Okay.
Hi, are there regional differentiations in pansori singers? And also, can you give a little blurb about the costumes that they wear?
Well, obviously in the 19th century there's no female costumes, right? Because there's no female singers. The costume is the pansori singer usually wear the commoner's robe. Because the pansori was the class-oriented music, folk music. It's traditionally sung in a kind of by lowest class of the performing arts genres. And then in the 19th century, pansori singers, they became comparable to the court musicians. So they started performing pansori in the court. And then upper class males, especially, they became their patrons. So it's for pansori, low class pansori singers, it's opportunity to wear the nice costumes, like upper class scholar literates costume. But traditionally, I don't think they wear the beautiful decorated costume in the 19th century.
But we're in the 21st. Yeah. So what was that transition? And what is the norm now?
Well, I think norm is just a personal taste. And then there's so many designers now, and they're fashion designers. So I don't think they are really, trying to bring the traditional costume, but it's up to the singer. And then, it's more colorful now.
How about the question about regional difference? Are there differences in different parts of Korea?
Yes, traditionally yes, but pansori became the centralized now. It's urban music. Pansori was, originally it's a regional music, especially developed in the southwestern region of a Korean peninsula. Now that area, the pansori was very kind of expressive and sad style, and that becomes the central style, and all other regional style disappeared. So I, usually listen to the SP recordings, but the modern times, not current times, no one can sing that style of the central style or soul style because that's style it's completely disappeared.
So it's become one style, ultimately. And do you think that maybe you could talk for a second about the Korean system of intangible cultural assets and the idea? There's two parts to this question. One part is the idea of traditional arts and how they're preserved. And the second one is experimentation in pansori.
Well, very interesting question, yes. There are two different kind of musicians. First kind is that just, try to preserve the tradition, right? Second kind is that, they try to kind of, make it different, maybe creative. Pansori wasn't, pansori is mostly improvised form, but in 1960s, Korean government trying to develop the system of the intangible cultural asset. What that system did is that, pansori became kind of museumized. So people just follow the exactly same patterns and music as the person who designated as a cultural asset. And then there's no creativity, after that. So because, intangible cultural asset becomes the power of the lineage. So all the students, they just learn exactly the same styles of their masters. Luckily, nowadays, in the 21st century, a lot of young pansori singers, they revolt this kind of, tradition by, they said, well, I can create new pansori style based on the modern lifestyle. Like, pansori is all about, 18th century characters or something like that. But, nowadays, especially young pansori singers, they take some stories of, just daily life or children's life or, anything. And so I think that's wonderful directions for young musicians.
Any additional questions? Oh, now we have 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Hisan, can you answer this? This is two of my colleagues, and yes. So
this may be for them then. Mm-hmm. If pansori grew out of the shaman tradition,
yes,
shaman culture, did it have a spiritual meaning at the beginning, and does it still?
Not really. Pansori is purely become the artistic form, losing the religious function. And then, but the performance form is very similar to the shaman ritual. And then, in Korea, I went to actually shaman ritual last week before I came to New York. And then I drank a lot.
That's part of it, right?
Okay. No, this is important, Rachel. You know why it's important? You cannot really sit, through 13 hours of ritual. And for a while, you become really boring. Like, you want to be like spiritually uplifting, lifted, but without any kind of drinking. That's why the shaman rituals, the old ladies, they always drink makgeolli, and then after they drink, they become
So originally pansori, farmer started in the beginning. Sort of.
No, not really. Farmer style. Pansori, the shamans, they are the professionals. Before pansori singers, I don't know. It's not a written document. It's oral tradition. So we don't really know how pansori, started somewhere in the 16th or 17th century. But that style come out of the shaman style because the performance form is very similar. I mean, it's almost the same. So it's not a farmer style.
Oh, I see. Okay. And sometimes pansori player, do they do like jazz musician does improvisation?
Well, I talked about earlier. Yes.
Yeah, on the stage.
Well, improvisation was very limited for pansori, unfortunately, because once you begin to learn a particular lineage or school, then you have to follow exactly the same voice of your masters.
I'd just add that that's why we're able to give you super titles tonight, because it's a memorized libretto.
Hi, I've got 2 questions for you. Should be easy, I hope. Is the male voice that goes high, would that be considered like falsetto, like the Hawaiians sing falsetto?
Falsetto.
Or not?
Falsetto
And
is.
can I, one
I'm
more?
sorry.
In training for their singing, do they use that strange Chinese style of training where they go, ooh,
Yeah,
ooh? Do they
Qingju
use that
style,
or
yes.
not? They do? No. Oh, okay. Those are my 2 questions. Falsetto, please.
Falsetto it's not desirable for pansori singers. You have to sing with your chest voice. Ah, like that. Not So if I sing like one pansori aria like Sukte Mori, and then our master's like, stop it, I can't stand with you. So I can't really, anyway.
I think that's very helpful.
I always want to sing.
All right, yes. I know, and actually we enjoyed it.
My students always laugh at me, like if I, do some pansori singing, and it's like, giggling.
Hello. Is pansori at all related to any of the other Asian performing arts like No and Kabuki? And is there a sort of an antecedent tradition and relationship?
I would say no. Pansori is very unique. It's not like a Qingju Beijing opera or Kabuki or No theater in Japan. Pansori is uniquely performed by just one singer, and then there's no. No.
Now, I think there might be a connection with. I don't think so, but I shouldn't speak for you, should I?
Well, as I said, pansori is related to shaman ritual in Korea. Korea is famous for shamans. Famous. You have to visit shaman.
But let me ask you, because we've talked about Mongolia and shaman traditions in Siberia, and not only shaman traditions, but epic singing traditions, which you even have in Central Asia. I would venture to say there might be a relationship. What do you think?
Well, it's kind of ethnographic doctorate dissertation. You have to follow that roots. It's not going to be easy, but people make us assume because by language, Mongolians, tongue, Altai language, and then the singing traditions and shamans started in Siberia and went to Mongolia, and they went to Korean Peninsula. Then didn't go any Japan or anything, and then one group went to Turkey, and then Hungary and the Finland. So that's the huge Altai language group, and then each language they have some kind of singing tradition like that. The travel wandering musician.
Wandering. Nomadic traditions. Or any last burning questions that you just need to know? Okay, you're the last burning question here before we take a break.
Sorry, I was just wondering, how popular is pansori in Korea today?
Not very popular. Pansori was very popular. Pansori was the popular music in the 20th century, the first part of the 20th century, by the kiseng, female musicians. There is no popular music defined in Korea in the early 20th century. People bought SP recordings. One pansori singer, Im Bang-wol, which is the master singer, he sold 300,000, right? 300,000 recordings in the 1940s. It's amazing. Wow. So pansori was very popular, and then because of sad history of Korea, the war, and then it's gradually lost its popularity. Now pansori is very foreign even to Korean people. If there's a pansori singing, in your neighborhood, they say, "What is that?" So that's very, it's not, popular style anymore. And then pansori is preserved in university and conservatories now. So if you want to learn, you become want to be a professional singer, then you have to go to conservatory like a Juilliard or something.
I just wanted to say that I have taken some pansori lessons right here in New York City in Flushing with Mrs. Ok-ju Moon.
Oh, I know her.
She's very good. So if people are interested, a lot of ladies study with her. And also in Korea now, a lot of rock and roll and contemporary writers incorporate pansori stylings into their modern writing too. So.
Well, basically, I think rock musicians, they use their chest voice just like a pansori singers. So there is a musical connection between these two genres.
I was going to say, when I was in Korea a couple years ago, the pansori version of Three Penny Opera was pretty amazing. I don't know how popular it was. Maybe you guys could say. You want me to sing some? No, you don't. But this performer was really galvanizing.
You mean Ijaram?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then after Seopyeonjae, the film came out. That was quite the rage. I remember in about 1994.
It's the film introduced the awareness of pansori preservation and learning. People not really. People knew before that the movie came out. And then, for example, my mom or my parents probably just assume that pansori singing is hard. They didn't understand the details of every day, the pain and suffering you have to go through.
You don't have to be blinded, right?
No, not really.
So there was a famous television program, right, called Korean Kitchen. Did they have any pansori in there?
I'm not familiar with Korean.
Do you guys know what I'm talking about? There was a television program, and it was set in the court in the kitchen.
Oh. Yes,
Okay.
Daejanggeum is actually she became the great nurse, the doctor. But there is no pansori singing in that.
So maybe this is one part of the future?
Oh, maybe.
In any case, the future will be here shortly. Rhoda.
Yes, I know a little bit about that. A lot of great Korean musicians, including Western, violinists or composers, they went to North Korea after the emancipation from Japan, because the socialism and communist, they offer better life. They kind of advertised the musicians in the South. So a lot of people went North Korea, and then they became forever separated, right? With the DMZ, demilitarized zone, they couldn't come back to South. And then in 1960s, they went through some kind of cultural revolution like China. So they begin to abandon all the traditional form, including pansori and sanjo. Yeah. So and then they promoted the revolutionary opera, which is exactly like sounds like a Russian, communist music. So it's kind of sad. So anyway, so there is no pansori survived in North Korea. That's I'm pretty sure, right?
Well, Victor.
You said that the prototype for pansori is the shamanistic performances. Are there similar types of performances now among the shamans?
Yes.
That are similar to pansori but represent the original tradition?
Yes. You can find a lot of evidence, even performance in today. I went to shaman ritual last week before I came here, and I saw 심청굿, which is the shaman. She introduced the story of the daughter who eventually sacrificed to the dragon king in the ocean, right? Today we're gonna yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So that story actually came from the shaman ritual. As I said, you have to sit through 26 hours of a shaman ritual, like 2 days, right? And then shamans, what they do is that not only spiritually, perform, but also they become the narrative speaker and then storyteller, and which became the artistic form of pansori.
So we're going to stop here. First, a big hand to Dr. Ha. Thank you so much for illuminating so much about pansori. Maybe before, I know we're late, but could you just run us through our responses one more time? Just so we're prepared.
Well, I'll try my best. 얼씨구! 좋다. 잘한다. Just follow the rhythmic cycle, okay? 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 3, 3. 좋다. Something like that. Okay.
All right, now you're prepared for the concert. Thank you all. Thank you again. We're going to clear the hall. Your tickets actually have ticket numbers. They're assigned seats, so we'll have you come back in just a few minutes. And another big hand.
Thank you. So you're going to introduce the synopsis of... Okay.